Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. Here we have Sasha, the Guzzi dog. What are we going to talk about today, Sasha? Carburetors. Oh, that's right, carburetors. Let's go have a look. Right, now my 1974 Eldorado has got these things on it. The dog's sighing in the background. Yeah, she doesn't like them either. Anyway, Amel concentrics. What are Amel concentrics doing on a Moto Guzzi? Well, in 1974, Moto Guzzi experienced a carburetor shortage because Eldorado, the normal supplier, was on strike. So they couldn't get them. So they jumped on their motorbikes and they went up to Birmingham and did a deal with Amel. And Amel were very happy to supply them with these Amel concentrics. Called concentrics because the float ball, which is this piece, is concentric the barrel of the carburetor. The previous carburetor made by Amel was the monoblock, so called because the float chamber was cast in a monoblock with the carburetor barrel, where previously the float chamber had been fitted separately over here. This wasn't a bad carb actually. It had lots of nice features like a throttle slide that was supported inside and a pilot jet that you could actually get to and clean in case you got muck in your fuel. Anyway, back to this thing. Now, this is a 900 series, which is the largest series of concentrics, and there were three sizes. There was a 28mm, a 30mm, and a 32. These are metric bore sizes, and these were imperial, so I think this is a 15/16 or an inch, maybe, can't remember. It is written up here somewhere, but you won't be able to see it with this camera. Amel also made a smaller carburetor, the 600 series, and these I think were 26mm. Pretty much all the same, I think. These went on smaller bikes like 350 singles, 500 twins, 250 singles, that kind of thing. And you'll notice that they are substantially smaller above the line. Below here, they're identical and interchangeable. Okay, so that's the 600 series, this is the 900. We're talking about the 900. So how does it work and what are the parts? Well, very briefly, I'm going to give you my interpretation. Now, my explanation may not be as good as others on the internet, but it's the way I understand it. So here we go. Starting at the bottom, we have this thing, which is the float chamber, which contains the float. Now, let me grab another one. This float chamber fits on the bottom, obviously, and the fuel comes in through this banjo union here. There's a small nylon filter or plastic filter in there which filters the big chunks out of the fuel. So the fuel comes in through this little brass fitting here. Fuel comes out of there, and the flow of fuel is controlled by a little needle on the float. Very similar to this, that fits there, you can see there. This one's got a brass one. So as the float comes up, the needle goes down and shuts off the fuel, and there she is. This is the later type that came out in the 70s. It was supposed to answer all the problems that were caused by the plastic one. But I never found that much difference between them. But anyway, these are a little heavier, so I suppose they shut off the fuel a bit quicker. There's more modern ones now for ethanol fuels, but I don't want to get into that at the moment. Okay, so the fuel comes in here, fills up the bowl to a certain level. We'll talk about that in another video. And what happens then? Well, to get into the bore of the carburetor, the fuel comes up through here, which is the main jet. And the main jet fits right down in there. Actually, it's that way. So your main jet, which is one of these things, is right down there in the bottom. Right down in there. Okay, so here we have a main jet. Here we have a main jet holder. And here we have a needle jet. So your fuel comes up through here, through there, and then into the barrel of the carb. Now you may be able to see a brass thing down in there. Can you see that? Well, that's where the fuel comes out of. Fuel is sucked out of there by the Venturi effect of the carburetor and is atomized with the air and enters the engine on this side here. Okay, so we got the fuel coming up, but unless the engine's going to run flat out all the time, we need to control the amount of fuel, don't we? Yes, we do. So we have this thing which is called a needle, and you'll notice it's got a taper on it. So what the needle does is it meters the amount of fuel coming into the engine. The needle goes down through the jet here, through the holder, and then down into this part of the main jet. So your fuel comes up and is metered by this thing. So obviously the higher up it is, the more fuel you're going to get. Okay, so we've metered the fuel. We also need to meter the air, so we use this thing. This thing is the throttle slide, and this goes up and down inside the bore of the carburetor, slides up and down the barrel inside the bore, and allows more or less air in. And this has a slot in the bottom, and that's where the nipple on your Bowden cable for your throttle twist grip fits. So down in the bottom there, you slot in the nipple and you feed your cable back to your twist grip. But when you've done that, you also put in the needle. And the needle fits in a round recess down in the bottom. Okay, and it's got a cutout. Well, it's not a cutout, but it's specially shaped. Specially shaped so it goes around the throttle cable. It's got 3 slots on there, and you can fit, well, 3 grooves, and you can fit this clip in 3 grooves. Well, obviously, if you put it in the bottom groove, you're going to enrich in the mixture. If you put it in the top groove, you're going to push it down and you're going to weaken the mixture. There's also a return spring which fits on top of everything. So your throttle, when you roll your throttle off, there is no cable to pull this back down. It just relies on this spring to push the air slide down to shut off the air and the fuel. This is your cap for your carb, fits on top there. And it's got 2 adjusters on this one. Some of them don't have them. But this has 2 adjusters. The one in the middle is for your throttle, and the one on the side is for another thing. Now the other thing is this. You'll notice a slot in the throttle slide, and that is where this dealie fits. And this thing is your choke. Oops. Your choke or your air slide, depending on what you want to call it. And this operates independently of the throttle slide. So you use this in cold weather, in a cold climate, to richen your mixture up to get your engine to fire when the cylinder walls are cold. Again, this is operated by a Bowden cable, which fits in that slot there. And this has a return spring and a brass guide, so the whole thing looks like that. And obviously your Bowden cable goes all the way down the middle. And this fits onto a separate lever on your handlebar. I like to have mine on my right handlebar, and when I pull the lever back, that opens up this, so I know that whenever my my lever's all the way back, I know my choke is off. Okay, if you live in a warm climate and your bike will start without a choke, my advice is to leave that off. It's just another pain in the arse when you're trying to get the top back on your carburetor under the tank, and you've got this thing to jiggle with, as well as trying to jiggle this and get it back in that brass fitting down the bottom there. It can be a bit of a pain in the arse. Depends on really on how much room you've got underneath the tank of your bike. But do without it if you can. If you do without it, you need to block off this. You don't want the air to get down in there, whip around your slide and screw up your mixture. So stick a blob of silicone in there and put a tire valve on it, or take it off and put a fancy bolt that you can buy from Anomaly. Choice is yours. Okay, what else do I want to say? Oh yes, that covered the main running of the bike from, say, just under quarter throttle up to full throttle. Now at idle, at tick over, there's another sequence involved. Let's call it a sequence, I don't know. And that is called the pilot jet circuit. Now the pilot jet on these is here. On the monoblock it's there and it's readily accessible. In the concentric they did a really great job of hiding it and making life difficult for you. The original ones that came out, you can see where this hole is, they had a screw there and you could access the pilot jet, which is down in there. But then they went cheap and they blocked this off. So where the pilot jet is actually located is down in here. Sorry, it's down here. It's just in this region here, about there. There's your blank hole, and you can see a piece of alloy that's been jammed in there at the factory. Take care of that. Okay. Let us talk about how the fuel and the air get to that jet. Okay, obviously, let's look at the fuel first. Now, where is it? Right. We look at the float bowl, and you look down the bottom there. Can you see those two holes with two tubes above them? Well, that's where the fuel gets sucked up for your pilot jet circuit, and then it comes out of those two holes at the top. Okay? Right. Now, bear in mind that we have left-hand carbs and right-hand carbs. You'll see the difference between those two. Well, we've got the ticklers. This is what you use to flood the carburetor. Ticklers, and then these two screws are on one side on one carb and on the other side on the other. And this side they're blanked off, obviously for ease of manufacturing. Right, so our fuel is sucked up through those holes, through those tubes. Here they're marked in red. Fuel comes up where it's red, comes out of those two. Now, when it gets to this part, you will notice that one of these is blocked off, and then there's a hole on the other one. So the fuel can come in here, and it will come along and follow this red, and it will get to the pilot jet, which is there. But coming to meet it is air, which comes in this way. It comes through that little thing there, that hole there, which is marked in blue. There's another hole on the other side. You can see them better here on this bigger carb. Another hole there, which is blocked off. That's your fuel one. And then this hole here is where air comes in. Now air comes in along your blue till it comes to this corner here, and then it has to turn left and meet the fuel coming the other way. And the amount of air coming in is controlled by this screw here, which is your air mixture screw. Now, can I get it out? Anyway, it's a tapered, sorry, I'm not very well prepared. It's a little tapered dealie. Here we go. Now you can see it's tapered, so the more it's out, the more air comes in. Screwed all the way in, it shuts the air off. So a lot of people think that this is a fuel screw, but it's not, it's an air screw. Right? So that is that one there. So your air, blue, and your fuel, red, are mixed here in a little mixer. And then they go up into the carburetor here. Now, you see a red mark there. Well, there's a little hole there which is connected down into the bottom here, and that's where the fuel gets sucked out, and it mixes with the air coming underneath the cutout on the slide, and then that provides your engine with air and fuel at idle, at tick over. And you can adjust the amount of air coming in the bore of the carburetor by putting a different slide in, as we discussed earlier. I think this is a number 3. Does this have a number 3 on it? I believe it does, somewhere. Can't quite see it through the camera. Yeah, there's a number 3. So that's a number 3. So you could put a 2.5 in if you want less air, or a 3.5. 3, I think, corresponds to 3/16 of an inch gap compared to the front there. So you can adjust your cutaway by putting a different slide in, and you can adjust your air mixture on the screw here, which allows a different amount of air in the screw. Okay, now the other screw here is an adjustment for the height of your slide in the barrel of the carburetor. Okay, and it abuts in this area here. So if you screw it in, your slide goes up, your revs increase. If you screw it out, it comes down, your revs decrease. Okay, and you always set this after you've set the mixture. Right, something else. Oh yeah, ticklers. See, this has got the deluxe tickler on. And what you do is, you know, when your engine's cold first thing in the morning, is you depress the tickler, and you depress it by pushing the top. You don't call it names, okay? That's the deluxe one with the alloy top, so you don't get a stinky finger. And then this one you get a stinky finger with, because you hold it down until fuel comes out of that hole. It usually comes out the top as well and soaks the finger of your glove. Right, so if you're smart, you take your glove off first and tickle your bike, and then you put your gloves on. You notice that the bottom is quite sharp. It's actually a roll pin that's been spread, and it is quite sharp. And that fits on top, and that hits the top of the float and pushes it down. Now, there's a lot of controversy about how you tickle an engine. And I think a tickler is a stupid name. They should have called it a depressor button, or a fuel enrichment device, or something like that. I don't know. They called it a tickler. So what people do is they go to the bike and they go tickle, 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 tickle. Which I don't suppose does any real harm, because I mean, the top of this is plastic and it's quite thick. I don't think you're going to puncture it. Well, you probably could if you tried really hard. You don't have to do that. I mean, all you have to do is just hold it down till fuel comes out. But it makes you feel good going tickle, 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 tickle. Well, by all means do it, you know. Different strokes for different folks. So, what do you think, Sasha? Have we covered it all? Yeah, probably have. I can't think of anything else to say about these carburetors. I'm going to do something on fault finding and that sort of stuff. I'll probably do that on another video. I'm just trying out this new camera phone, and it's -8 in this garage. I'm getting a bit cold. My fingers are getting stiff, and but it's better than it was yesterday. It was -30 yesterday. So I got my new Guzzi banner. Wow, what do you reckon to that, eh? What do you reckon to that? Not bad, eh? Birthday present from my son. So yeah, on that note, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to say, well, it's goodbye from me. It's goodbye from Sasha, the Guzzi dog. Take care of yourselves. Look after one another. Have fun on your Guzzies. Rubber side down, shiny side up. I'll talk to you next time. Goodbye.